Hello, everybody. It's a great Johannes speaking. I'm going to attempt a multi-stream because I've got TikTok Live Studio over here. See if I can also run my. This is going to be a bit of a trick. OBS as well to live stream to Rumble and then onto multiple platforms such as my YouTube and so on. Start the stream. I don't know if this is going to work. It's an experiment. I'm supposed to have enough upload speed on my internet, so I wonder if it's going to be lagging or not. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. Let me see. Is the audio coming through the other one? Yeah, audio is working too. All right. And then I have to hit start stream on Rumble Studio. It appears to be connecting. What I wonder if it's all going well. This would be interesting. So what have I done today? I went for a hike today, a couple of hours through the Brabantian heathlands. Hi, everybody. And I saw a herd of cows lying in the heathland by the water. You have to imagine these grasslands in southern the Netherlands. And I noticed these cows sleeping, and they turn their necks all the way around like so, and they sleep very peacefully. I suppose cows only sleep a few hours a day because they are awfully grazing. They are very busy grazing the whole time, of course. All right. If everything's working out, I should be live on my YouTube as well at the Great Johannes. I should be live on my Rumble /JohannesMK, on my X at JohannesMKX, and on Twitch, the JMK Music, and on my Substack at jmk.info, and here on TikTok. So I wonder if this setup works. I'll do it more often. Then I'll have a multi-streaming thing. That's a bit of annoying about modern technology. Like, they give you all these options, but then, it's not well connected yet. It's not like you have like one central streaming outfit where you can just stream to all places. Yeah, I appear to be live on Johannes MKX on X, so that's fun, and I should be able to receive chats from everybody. All right, pop out chat. Wait, I'll close this one. Pop out chat. All right, well, we'll see how this goes. I don't know if it's going to be a success or not. All right, so how's everybody doing? TikTok is working. Yeah, I noticed it. Yeah. That's the main thing. TikTok is where I have most viewers, usually averaging between 50 to 100 or so, something. It's concurrent viewers, of course. Usually you have like 1,000 people dropping in and say hello. All right. The multi-streaming setup is working, but let's see if it's going to be a success or if it's going to be meaningful or useful to me. I don't know yet. So do white people have a culture? What is our culture, really? When I hear black people say, what's your culture? What is white people's culture? White people don't have a culture. When I hear them say that, I'm thinking of a big fat fish in the middle of the ocean saying that there's no water in the ocean because it's all around them. And in fact, they breathe it, right? Water goes, in certain fish, they inhale all the water and it goes straight through their bodies, right? Through their gills. And so when black people say white people don't have a culture, and I see them wearing shirts, that's European clothing styles. They wear pants. Those were invented by Germans. They wear watches, invented by Europeans, a Swiss watch, right? They have glasses on, invented by Europeans. Right? They have their iPods, their iPads things in their ears, invented by Europeans or by descendants of Europeans. Right? All right, okay, Steve Jobs was half Syrian. Okay, Steve Jobs was half Syrian. Right? But phone technology, invented by Europeans. They're using the internet to say this, invented by Europeans. I would turn the question around the restroom person. Why are you so racist? Why do you hate white people? What's wrong with you? I'm so tired of these people. We need to start pushing back and fighting back. There's no way we need to accept this, that people will say things like, white people don't have a culture. You should let them immediately feel the full force of white culture whenever they say that. These people are speaking our language, are using technology we invented on the internet, audio technology, video technology, right? Transistors. Do you know that the guy who invented the transistor, a transistor is extremely important to all technology. Transistors are in your phone, millions. The transistor technology was invented by a guy who thought East Asians were inferior people. So you have literal racist technology in your electronics. There's no way around it because a lot of it was invented by racist white people who didn't care about everybody else, right? Yeah, they want us to be ashamed. Yeah. Carlos lost. I don't know who Carlos is, but all right. They want us to be ashamed, but also I think it's twofold. There's a lot of ignorance in their own heads. They're not that smart. But there's also the propaganda on TV telling them what to believe, right? And they just gobble it up. But what is white people's culture, right? Maybe we'll just talk about that. This could be an optimistic, positive talk. White people's culture. Well, first of all, everything you see around you was invented by white people. You walk into any room, any piece of furniture you see was invented by white people. Chairs, tables, everything, right? White people invented most of the furniture ever invented in the world. We invented almost everything ever invented in the past 500 years, and also most of that before, right? We likely even invented fire because the Europeans had it cold in the north of Europe. We needed fire, right, for heating, right? It's not even offensive when black people say white people don't have culture. It's obviously a sign of their own mental cognitive disability, and you shouldn't make fun of such people. But on the other hand, it's also important to like shove it into their faces and let them know what our culture is. Every political system you've ever heard of, including democracy and socialism, was invented by white people. If the minorities, the so-called minorities, because white people are 7% of the planet, but if the so-called minorities cared about democracy, how come they never invented it? How come outside of Europe, literally every other civilization was always despotic? Their system is called despotism. That's the only political system they ever invented. They didn't come up with democracy or equality or socialism or each man one vote. None of that. They didn't think of any of that. Democracy was first thought of by the ancient Greek. Greece is part of Europe. At the Acropolis, you had to physically go there. You had to be there in person to be involved. It was like a plebiscite, really. It was called a direct democracy. And then the modern democracy of one man, one vote was invented in the USA, in America, by white men, right? How come other races never had this? If they cared so much about equality, how come they never invented equality in their societies, in their civilizations, right? So it's going too far. You can't do this to us. You can't just insult us like that. There needs to be consequences, right? So that's my attitude nowadays. So what is white culture? Let's see if we can answer this question together. If you want to have if you have some ideas, right? Didn't the father of genetics believe in a correlation between IQ and race and also intelligence? Yes, of course he did. He believed race was real, yeah, and that differences were also real. I mean, they're using technology that was invented by people who would not have considered them their equals. So it's like if you're a fish in the water and you don't notice the water, what happens when the water is removed? Yeah, you choke on the air, you starve, or you die. All right. German, French, Spanish, Swedish, that's white culture. Yeah, of course it is. But America used to be a European nation. It was founded by and for Europeans, right? It's not like when we got there, we could just move into the big cities that the Native Americans built for us. They didn't even have horses. We brought the horses over. This is, of course, not their fault, but, you know, when you see these movies with Indians riding horses, don't forget, it was the Europeans who introduced horses to the Americas. So they had a lot of trouble without transportation, apparently. So don't blame us for it. Don't blame us for introducing, for example, modern agriculture, modern pastoralism. These things were introduced. All the technology, right? I guess white people's only biggest mistake ever was that we always freely borrowed or lent our technology to others, thinking that we could help them. And look at how grateful they are now for our help. They're so grateful. Right. Estonia has one of the oldest old towns. Oh, that's very interesting. I have been to Estonia once. Yeah. What was it called? Tallinn is the capital, I think. Don't want to insult you, but I thought Tallinn was the capital. I've been there. Yeah, that's a very beautiful place. Right. Estonian, yeah, it resembles Finnish a little bit. It's a little bit related to. They say it's related to Hungarian, but Hungarian and Finnish and Estonian are still very, very different. It's not like they can understand each other because they can't, right? Hi from Ireland. Yeah, I'm in the Netherlands. How are you this Sunday? I'm fine. I was just talking about what is white culture because you hear all these black people on TikTok saying that white people don't have a culture while they're wearing European clothing styles, European apparel, watches and shoes, Italian shoes, Swiss watches, right? And while they're eating European food, they're eating pizza and pasta and burgers. That's European food. Seriously, that's European food. What are they talking about, man? It's just weird. Why aren't they grateful? They're speaking our language, right? Why aren't they grateful? I mean, they believe in the religion we spread across the world, and then they complain about it like that. I'm by the way, I'm multi-streaming as well on it seems to be working all right. I have a multi-stream setup now. I'm on TikTok, obviously. That's my primary thing. But I'm also streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Rumble, and X, and my Substack, 5 other platforms. So let's see if I can send a message to the multi-stream. Hi everybody, I'm multi-streaming. See the main stream on TikTok at the Great Jim K. Let's see if that works. All right. I'm on all the platforms now. I'm just experimenting to see if it makes sense to expand my reach here. All right. They want to dominate. That's why they're not grateful. I think so. Yeah. You know, I was chatting with a feminist on Twitter X, and she explained something that I do agree with. She said that a lot of men behave as dominant children. So they're very domineering, but they're like dominant children who want that woman to be their new mommy, and they're trying to bully her into being a new mommy. I kind of agree with that. And that's what it is, though. When you see these Hindus and the Arabs and the Muslims and the Africans and so on, the way they behave, the way they treat us, that dominant attitude is the dominance of a child, not of a grown man. Right? It's, again, you shouldn't make fun of people with disabilities, but, you know, I have a cup of tea, by the way. What about East Asian innovations? Yeah, they invented something, but it wasn't all of it. For example, take gunpowder. The Europeans also independently from China invented gunpowder. So it's not like we learned from them. It's still more that they learned from us. Right. Ireland has Newgrange, a structure older than the Egyptian pyramids. I may have heard of it. Yeah, it's very interesting, right? Yeah, exactly. 97% of inventions are European. So what are these people complaining about? I haven't seen the gratefulness, the gratitude, so to speak. It's not there, is it? That's a bit of a sad thing. All right. I'm just moving my chat boxes around on my screen here so I can have some more meaningful interaction here with you. All right. Yeah, we're all curious. So what do you think is white culture? You can tell me. Is Europe in great danger? Economically, yes, but spiritually, I think we can use this opportunity to revive ourselves, all right? What we need is new leadership. When Italy's Giorgia Meloni says she wants to bring in 500,000 of immigrants from outside of the EU, you need to depose her, get rid of her. Europe needs new leaders. We need family policy for our own people, and we need to start mass deportations. We don't even need to call it remigration or something. Just call it deportation, removal. We need removal. It's not that hard, right? Right. Most of the inventions of the Europeans come from that specific area, basically the Germanic and the Anglo areas. That's very interesting. Did you know that even today, the two countries that export the most professional machine equipment are Japan and Germany, and those are the two original patriarchal societies. So there's a very interesting correlation there between being a patriarchal, a masculine people, and having a knack for developing machines and technology, right? So that's very interesting. All right, just fixing some. Yeah, she's a globalist. Maloney has betrayed us. I remember years ago or so that Maloney did a speech where she ended her speech with this smirk. I don't know how I can't do the smirk, but the way she did it was like she was mocking the people she was speaking to. She was giving a speech to the Italian people, to these far right people, and she could not hide that smirk. That's when I knew for sure. When you catch that smirk, you know this woman, Georgia Maloney, is anti-white. She's probably Jewish, and she toes the party line of the European Union. She doesn't care about people. She doesn't care about Italian families. Italy will be thrown to the wolves. Italy will be thrown to the wolves. Right. The Anglo-Saxons, yeah. They invented a lot. I believe that. All right. So nice to see everybody. We were talking about what is white culture. What can we do to save our people? My idea always has been to leave the big cities, leave them behind, escape these diverse urban centers, and then live closer to natural areas. So it could be a bit beyond the suburbs, but wherever you're closer to nature, small towns perhaps, and then farms if you can, or even if you want to go off the grid into the wild. All that will be the benefit. So to me, it's not a matter of moving to another country, but rather moving to another surrounding. And we leave the urban centers where nothing grows. Everything has to be shipped in. That's a dangerous place to be in when the economy collapses. You need to be in a place where you have fertile soil, where you, in case of a catastrophe, you or your community could grow at least some crops or some. That's how it was always done. Small villages in Europe would work together for the harvest of the grain, for example. We have words in like Dutch and German language referring to this, like labor in German is Arbeit, and this for two parts, Ar and Beit. Ar is like that's the grain, or like the work that needed to be done, and Beit is more like to offer your labor. So you're offering your labor for that collective work. We have words that refer to the old times, of course, in our languages. I guess if you know some Anglo-Saxon English, because Anglo-Saxon is much more Germanic, you'll notice that the words, if you analyze them a bit etymologically, you'll notice that they refer to realities that we have forgotten about now, but are still present in our language. We still use those words, although we've forgotten about the meaning. So we are looking at transplanting or moving our people away, emigrating away from the urban centers toward closer to nature. We have to do this because there will be no survivors in the big cities. The big cities will starve within a week. You'll be lucky if you still have water after a week. Probably not. Potable water, all the water supply systems may collapse. And then what? You can't survive in a city. There's been several books about this. There's a book called Strategic Relocation. That this one is about the USA. Where should you move in the US? Stay away. They recommend the following: move at least 200 miles away from big cities. And why is that? Because when the catastrophe hits the city, people will still have fuel in their cars or batteries charged in their cars. and they're going to use that to drive out to escape the cities, right? And whenever they run out of fuel, that's where they stop. That's when they get out of their cars and they start roaming the land, harvesting like zombies, basically a zombie apocalypse, eating whatever food they can find. And then it's going to be a struggle of the strongest. The strongest man wins, the most violent men win. And that's why you need to be away from that. You need to be just outside of that vehicular zone, their reach. So if the average reach of average cars parked in big cities is about, say, 200 miles out because they have some fuel in their car left, right? You need to be further away from that. Right? It's not a joke. If you start thinking about it this way, if you want to be a real survivor, you're going to have to think ahead of those situations. Yeah. Yeah, fully support to leave the urban centers. That's a good idea, right? All right. It's more dangerous and has more diversity in the city. Yeah. How big is a big city? Well, good question, but I'd say anything over a million people, stay away from those places. Probably more or less than that, but maybe aim for like 200,000 or so and stay away from that. No, you really need to accustom yourself to the old style of life, which is just simply away from large groups of people. I was hiking through the heath landscape of southern the Netherlands this morning. I went for a few hour hike, and there were places where there was like a sign that said there used to be a house there, a farmhouse. It's been demolished now, but it was right in the middle of nowhere. These people would have had to walk a couple of kilometers through the woods to find the next house, the next farmer. And so that's very remote, but that's perfectly sane, actually. It's not a bad thing to be that far away from other people. You would have a farm family there. You would have your family and 6 or 7 kids, of course. So you would have a ton of people around you anyway, your family. But to reach the next family, it would be a couple of mile walk, or a couple of kilometer walk. Now that's primitive. That's really old, hardcore primitivity. But I would say, wouldn't it be a great idea to have small towns with, say, 200 people who know each other, right? A family of familiar faces. We don't have that anymore. I spent some time roaming New York City, and you never met the same person twice, or at least I did once, and the person I met twice walked up to me to tell me, hey, man. I was like, I've never met the same person twice. You're the first person I ever met twice in the streets of New York City. They walk up to you because it's such a special event. He was like a nurse. He was living next to the hotel I was staying at. And that's amazing that you have all these different faces all around you all the time. That's unhealthy, I think. That turns you into a hyper individualist. Like, you can't rely on anyone because they won't be there. The next hour, they'll be gone. The next day, they'll be gone. You can't make friends in cities like that, right? Right. You'd like to stay away from everyone. Lol, yeah. That's a good idea. I don't disapprove of that. All right. How likely do you think it is that Euro-Americans retain unique heritage beyond just white? I think a lot of them already do. A lot of them have their family trees figured out, right? So they know whether they are at least, what are you, like, mostly Swedish or mostly Norwegian, or do you have like a Norwegian father or a grandfather? And I think a lot of Americans are already expressing their European heritage as well. There should be like a European Heritage Month in the USA to replace the LGBT month, the Pride Month. Make Pride Month about European heritage or something, right? And do away with all that nonsense, I don't think you'll be Euro mutts, because if you look at there's some maps out there that I've seen of the USA showing where the different ethnicities live, and they haven't really blended perfectly anyway. There's large pockets of people who are basically Germans, and there's pockets of people who are basically Swedish, right? You still have that anyway. And there's the Anglo, of course, and so on. Culturally, though, I think as a white person, you can say you're an American. That's fine, right? You're a newly born ethnicity. It's not, with an ancestry from Europe, right? Your grandmother says that we can't section ourselves off based off ethnicity, and that Christianity is the, well, your grandma's wrong, you know. It's like when they tell you to experience ego death or something. You're supposed to like forget about your identity and dissolve yourself. No, I think you're actually supposed to remember that you have a soul, and your soul has an identity. It isn't diffused nonsense. It's something. It's something important, right? All right, we stick to our own, yeah, to some large degree, yeah. I mean, when I look at some TikTok videos about the Polish culture, it is, it's, even though it's Polish, the language is completely different. They're Slavic, their dress is different, but even when I see it, it resembles other European cultures far more than anything African. So the Polish traditional culture is far more similar to Dutch or German traditional culture than anything from Africa. So you see that we do have these differences and divisions, right? You asked your grandma, she'd be fine if all Americans got replaced with Indians and they were Christian, really. She would be okay with it. That's weird. Your grandma's no good. She's a traitor. The Amish will survive past the cloud. Yeah. The Amish are are the group of people in the USA with the highest birth rates. Imagine that. All right. Yeah. Good news. Yeah. The Amish are left behind. Well, they are, you know how the Amish were created, right? The Amish and the Mennonites and other such groups, they were fundamentalist Christians, mostly from Germany and the Netherlands and so on. And they shunned technology during the industrial age. And they wanted to, they were like Luddites who refused to use modern technology. And they started spreading around the globe, first in Germany and so on, Poland, Russia, and they also went to the Americas later. That's where they come from. And I'd say perhaps they were onto something, and then they are already our plan B. If the white people of the cities die out, then at least we'll have the Amish and the Mennonites and so on. Are Europeans the same race as the Indians? No, we're not. It doesn't matter whether they're good or not. Everyone sees it like this. Right? Right. Yeah, it turns out that these Indians, they have like barely like 13% or so of this Aryan steppe pastoralist DNA that we gave them, basically. But they aren't, that doesn't really make them us. Have you seen the people from southern India? They're pitch black, blacker than black Africans. No, they're not the same race, man. Come on. I find it astonishing, though, how unique white people look. I'm not talking about beauty. I'm talking about if you study the faces of the Japanese and the Chinese and the Indians and the Arabs and the Africans, they're all distinctly different. But white people look different from all of them, since we are the only ones with different hair colors, for example. We got the blonde hair, but also brown hair. We got different eye colors. None of them have that. They all have black hair and dark eyes. All of them. All of them. There's some exceptions, I suppose. Yeah, there's some people in near the Papua New Guinea. There's some races there who also have blonde hair, but they have dark eyes and so on. But the thing is, why are we so unique? Why are we so colorful, so to speak? They call us white and they call themselves colored people, people of color. But we are the colorful ones. We have the colorful hair, the colorful skin tones, ranging from white through pink, through light beige, or whatever I have. I'd say it's like light beige or something, pinkish hue. But you know, we have all the different skin tones and all the different colors and the different hair and so on. And How come, maybe that's it. Maybe everybody's just jealous. But also what I notice is the physique. We are physically very different. White people are, on average, the largest and biggest people in the world. We have the tallest men, the biggest men, the tallest women, the biggest women. Also in terms of weight, the average white man weighs more than any other man. And this is excluding obesity. I know we have the basketballers. We have these tall, big black people who are basketballers. Great. Of course they have that. And we have the tall people of South Sudan. But overall, if you take the large groups and you average them, white people stand out. There's something peculiar about us. There's something that made us really healthy and strong. And I think it's pastoralism, because we have been living on a diet of meat and dairy for a very long time, for several thousands of years at least. And that has given us this genetic benefit. The fact that most white people are lactose tolerant also means we can get the nutrients from milk. You know what the difference is between a person who is lactose tolerant and a person who is not? The lactose tolerant person gets twice as many nutrients from drinking milk or dairy products compared to those who are not tolerant. Now, if you're not tolerant, you can digest milk and dairy. There may be some cramps or problems or whatever. The Mongolians, for example, they also just drink milk, even though they're not lactose tolerant. But the person who is lactose tolerant gets twice as many nutrients from milk. So you have including protein and so on. You have there a nutritious benefit is one of the reasons why our offspring effectively became, physically stronger. We had better nutrition, basically, right? Your grandfather was 7 feet tall. Wow, a redheaded English. Wow, that's amazing. I think the majority of Jews, 70% or so, are lactose intolerant. They can try to drink it, but it's not really. Your Scandinavian friends tan better than you, yeah. I've met these Scandinavian people who are like paper white, like actual white people. That you don't see those often in the Netherlands, for example. We are already a bit further south. You get my tan, basically. All right. But also my difference between if I'm like my winter skin and my summer skin, the difference is extreme. It's from almost white to darker than this, right? No, the people from this Nubia are not the tallest people in the world. The Frisians of north of the Netherlands are the tallest in the world. Right. Yeah. Frieslander blood, huh? Amazing, yeah. What do you think about Albanians and Balkans? Yeah, I've been to Albania once. I thought there were a lot of people there who were just Muslims. You have like places like what kind of places? Uh, not no. I forgot the place. There was a place in the Skopje in Macedonia. That too was like half Muslim or something. I know these places they start to get Muslim due to the Ottoman invasions, of course, the Turkish invaders there. What do you try to achieve with your show? I started doing it to practice speaking, but then now I want to start a reactionary movement, basically. I want to get more and more and more people on board on this movement and effectively begin beating back progress. So the end goal to me would be to achieve the survival of our people, and that means some radical changes, doing away with diversity or escaping it. We were just talking about leaving the big cities, for example, as a start. We want to reboot our culture, reaffirm ourselves so that we know how to fight back when people tell us that we don't have a culture, or when you have these gang rape squads. How come nothing has been done about that? It's because white people are a bit obedient and we expect our armies and police officers to deal with this problem. And when they don't, we don't do anything. And that needs to change. We need to instill in our white men that warrior spirit that informs them it is acceptable and necessary to beat back these rapists and the criminals who are harming us. And that means we also have to remove or depose the political leadership that we have today. We just can't go on like this anymore. It has to stop somewhere. We've got to do something about it. It's extremely frustrating to see all these crimes being committed against us and never a solid response. The response should be when Pakistani rape squads hurt white girls, that we remove those rapists and their families from our lands permanently. Like, you can send them back or whatever you want to do, whatever you have in mind. We need to have solid responses, but each time and again, over and over again, structural, systematic responses, and we need to be prepared for that and ready to do these things. And right now, none of this is happening. We're not ready. We need remigration, yeah. No, Moroccans are not descendants of the Germanic tribe of the Vandals. Moroccans are actually Arabs, because the Arabs took over from the 7th century, which was after the Vandals, and the Arabs basically killed or drove out the Vandals. If there is any Vandal DNA left in these Moroccans, it's 0.1%, not 2%, not more than that. Have you never seen Moroccans? They don't even look white. Moroccans look like, very dark brown people with these Semitic noses and Semitic faces. They don't even look European to me. No, and Germans did not come from Iran either. Have you seen Iranians? You can go on YouTube and look at Iranian marketplaces. Look at it. Look at it. They don't look anything like Europeans. They are brown people with frizz hair. They don't even look European. Yeah, they're not white. It's just no nonsense. All right. There's so much propaganda going on that you just need to block these people or tell them to their face what you think of them. But there's a massive operation. Basically, it feels as though white people are under attack, but spiritually, as though foreign alien demons are trying to infect us and harm us, right? Imagine a spiritual war where foreign demons that they send to us are trying to harm us and eat us up and warp our minds and harm us from within, harm us psychologically. And that's the fight we are really fighting. It is primarily a psychological fight where we have to, harden our soul. We have to harden our soul in order to win the fight that may not be lost. Yeah, we need to raise our boys as warriors and teach them to fight back. No. All right. Are you trying to explain things with logic or just rally people up? I want to rally people up. Logic does not convince anyone. I think we figured that out by now. I mean, I saw a tweet. Someone said this. I have a mental disorder that says I think that logical facts and reasoning can convince people to change their minds. No, you cannot. You have to rally the people. Right. Look at India and Africa. What their societies have ever done? Nothing. Yeah. And they blame the British for it. Yeah, they give you these weird statistics like, oh, 1,000 years ago, India had like 40% of world GDP, and now it's just 4%. But that 4% is now more than more wealth than it was 1,000 years ago, than when it was 40%. Also, Indians in the past were just peasants, subsistent level peasants who were just barely able to get by. They produced nothing and exported nothing to the world. Whereas at the same time, Europeans were already inventing all sorts of modern technology and exporting that across the world. So it's totally unfair for Indians to say that somehow the European contact harmed them, because it didn't. It only benefited them. And they still have trouble. I mean, imagine this. You claim that your civilization is 5,000 years old, and you still don't have traffic rules. You don't have cutlery, right? You eat with your hands. You have basically the behavior of scammers, scamming each other all the time. They're extremely selfish. The Indian people score highest on the belief that in order to get ahead in life, you have to be selfish. So imagine a society like that where everybody is ripping each other off the whole time, right? They're ripping each other off all the time. You want to bring those people to the West. What are they going to do? Just going to rip us off, and then they're going to rip each other off again. They can only turn us into India. They can never turn India into the USA. And I think that must drive them mad when a million Indian immigrants migrate to Australia and they realize they can only turn Australia into India, the place that they sought to escape. It must drive them mad. They must be seething with hate. Right. What we need isn't logic to tell us what we already know. Yeah. What we need is strength and confidence. Yes, strength and confidence, and that spiritual fire to rally the people, to tell, to let people know it's time. It's time to act. Right. Their biggest fear is people who bring light. And unlike the Congolese who ruined their railroad. Yeah, have you all seen that documentary called Empire of Dust? Yeah, tells you everything, right? All right. All right, I'm going to log off. I enjoyed this for a bit. I was just experimenting with my multi-stream setup. At least it works. I didn't see a lot of viewers on the other channels, but it's at least it's a nice setup. I could do it sometimes if I think it's necessary. So have a great evening, and I'll see you another time.